Good morning, afternoon, and evening, Chainsaw Man fans of the world. I'm certain we're all more hyped up than words can describe that we got both an episode of the Chainsaw Man anime and a chapter of the Chainsaw Man manga today. But if I try to split my brain again to talk about both the anime and the manga in the same day, my head will literally explode. I should have just done what X-Force did and talked about both the episode and the chapter in the same video, but not everyone's built like that. In this world, there's two types of people, critical thinkers and smooth-brained Neanderthals. Unfortunately, I fall into the latter of those two things. Anyway, today we're going to talk about the deepening trust between Asa and Yoru, the boldness of the Devil Hunters Club, the unspoken line Fujimoto just crossed, and more. But first, class is once again in session. I've linked a poll at the top of this description where you guys can vote on what grade you think this chapter of Chainsaw Man should get, A, B, C, D, or F. And in next week's chapter review video, we'll go over the overall chapter GPA of this chapter as well as some of your guys' comments on this video. Speaking of which, let's quickly look at what you guys thought about chapter 106. So about 250 to 300 people voted, and if that was one of you, thank you guys so much. And after tallying up the score, we got a total chapter GPA of 3.51 for chapter 106, which is incredibly high, but I think significantly lower than some of the past weeks, which I guess makes a little bit of sense because it wasn't the most hyped chapter in the world. It was more just build up for what was going to happen in this chapter and the next chapter, but it's still a fantastic score. That's mostly A's if I'm doing my math correct. So with the GPA out of the way, let's look at some of your guys' comments on the last video as well. Avatar Desto says it'd be pretty funny if Denji stayed home from school and missed the entire fight. And it seems like that's potentially what could be happening right now. It'd be pretty based if Denji's just embarrassed that Asa called him a loser and just doesn't want to go to school anymore. Only time will tell though, we're only like halfway through this fight. Revolting Peasants, fantastic name, says, I don't think Yuko necessarily transformed into the Justice Devil. The Justice Devil could still be separate and the transformation Yuko gets could just be part of its power. For the same reason, I don't think Yoru killed the actual Justice Devil in Chapter 98. And when I talked about that last week about, you know, what is this power that the Justice Devil has? Is it a hybrid transformation? Is it a fiend transformation? I don't know. It could just be the Devil's power. I don't know. It's incredibly vague. I feel like a lot of the power scaling and just powers in general in Chainsaw Man is incredibly vague, not in a bad way. I think that's part of the charm of the universe. But once again, we're like halfway through the fight, so we don't know what it is yet, and we don't know if we'll even find that out. But fantastic comment either way, because I really don't know what to fucking say about that. Thank you guys so much for leaving your comments on the last video. Remember to leave your thoughts down below on this video as well, so maybe we could talk about it in next week's chapter review video. So with that all squared away, let's talk about the chapter. So first of all, I just want to point out how amazing Fujimoto is with perspective. The way he drew and paneled this chapter, and honestly every chapter, is like changing camera angles in a movie. I feel like that's an incredibly advanced art technique you don't often see in anime and manga. When Fujimoto draws his manga, it's like he's drawing from the perspective of a camera angle filming a movie. And I feel like that's probably part of what makes Chainsaw Man such an acclaimed international phenomenon. Just some examples from this chapter alone, like how the chapter started off from an outside camera angle looking through the windows of the school watching Yoru and Yuko fight. And then that camera angle changes to Yuko delivering a very heavy hit to Yoru inside the school. This is just a classic example of Fujimoto's cinephilia making for a better manga. With the perspective dick riding out of the way, I actually had a thought about Yoru's power that kind of dawned on me while reading this chapter. Yoru's power feels very reminiscent to the Angel Devil's power, but when it comes to execution, Yoru's is vastly inferior thus far. I'm certain if Angel weren't being controlled by Makima, he wouldn't be nearly as powerful, but the spear he used to skewer Reize with just 5 or 10 years of usage seems just as powerful as the Tanaka spinal cord sword. Which, by the way, if it were so powerful, why the fuck didn't Yoru take it with her? The only thing I could think of is that Yoru thought things would go a lot better than they did, then reality hit her with the cold water. Either way, I'm having a difficult time thinking of a weapon Yoru could make that can compete with a 1,000-year spear Angel made at the end of part 1. But we're gonna have to wait and see for Yoru to make a weapon out of something Asa truly feels bad about. Moving on from there, I actually wanted to talk about the Devil Hunters Club and the balls these motherfuckers have. I don't even know these characters yet, and they all might just be dead now, but the way the first guy showed up looking like Jotaro ready to fight Dio in the world, that shit was tasty. And speaking of Jotaro, because Chainsaw Man canonically takes place in the late 90s, that means part 3 of JoJo's has already been out for almost 10 years. Meaning it wouldn't be a stretch to say that these Devil Hunter Club members are just Joe Bros trying to look cool. And even though they clearly lost that fight, they looked professional and brave while doing so. But right now these characters are Schrodinger's dead fodder characters, so we don't know if they'll actually be coming back at any point. The one guy that got donutted, I'm pretty sure he's not coming back. But it's hard to tell if the girl broke her neck from that fall or not, or if the guy got his eye poked out or his entire brain skewered. Either way, I'm not attached to these characters at all, but I do respect the pair Kintama these guys had. Now for the big chungus of what I wanted to talk about today, and that's the parallels between Yuko's behavior and that of a school shooter. Now, before I talk about any of this, I just want to make it clear I do not mean any disrespect at all with the way I present any of this information. The way I talk about uncomfortable and real topics like this sometimes comes out wrong because I don't usually like getting uncomfortable and serious, and the way I deal with that is with jokes, and sometimes I'll say things and it's just, it looks wrong. Listen, you guys understand what I mean. So with that out of the way, there was one particularly bone-chilling moment in this chapter for me, and that moment was when the students were in the hallway and that one guy asks if this is a drill, then Yuko peeks her head from around the corner and says, "This isn't a drill," before starting to attack them. Now, why I thought this scene in particular was so fucky was because Yuko's behavior kind of reminded me of the Columbine shooters, who, if I recall correctly, also taunted and talked to their victims. This is not at all me saying that Fujimoto took direct inspiration from the Columbine shooting, and this isn't me taking a stance against Fujimoto at all. Like I said last week, I am totally cool, and I think it's fine for dark and fucked up themes to be used in works of fiction. I've talked about this in previous weeks, but I was genuinely curious if Fujimoto was willing to cross the line and have students attacked and killed while in school or not. And I got a comment or two from last week saying that it isn't necessarily new for Fujimoto to have children killed in his works, because just a few chapters ago, Denji let a 5-year-old in a car die. But I think it's more of a taboo to have it be something that happens in a school and perpetrated by a character who clearly has something wrong in her noggin. It feels more real. Again, this isn't a stance against my favorite mangaka, this is just me saying how this makes it a little darker and it's more of a taboo. And it also shows a lot about the universe that Chainsaw Man takes place in, where schools have to have an alarm in every classroom if there's a dangerous devil attack. Which, coincidentally, a lot of schools in the US have as well, because something somewhat similar happens pretty frequently. When I was in kindergarten or first grade or something, my school also had to go into an active shooter lockdown because the DC sniper was like a mile away from my elementary school or something. So it's the realness of this situation that makes it a little more fucked. Outside of the situation itself, I'm curious to see what Asa's big plan is gonna be. Whatever it ends up being, I think it's huge that Yoru's confident in Asa enough to leave the situation in her hands. Sure, Yoru's constantly threatening to kill Asa if she doesn't comply with her whims, but this particular scene shows that Yoru actually has a good deal of trust in her. Will this lead to them being closer after this fight resolves? I'm not sure. But if Asa does end up pulling this off herself, Yoru might not be as stubborn with her in the future. Unfortunately for Yuko though, because she actually ended up killing students, I think she's not going to end up making it out of this one. You can always tell when a character's gone too far for a redemption arc, and I'm getting that kind of vibe from Yuko. But she should make a pretty sick weapon. So it's like that famous quote, "When a loved one dies, are they ever truly gone?" That's a pretty fucked up misuse of a quote people use to help cope with grieving, so I think I'm gonna end it there. That's about all for this week's chapter review video. If you like this series, let me know by leaving a like down below and subscribing to my channel. Make sure to stay up to date by hitting the bell button down below so you'll know every time I post a new Chainsaw Man chapter review video or any other of my quirky videos. Also follow me on Twitter, I have links to all my social medias down in the description below, and on that note, I'll catch you guys in the next video.